Just when you think the crisis at the southern border can't get any worse, it does. Over the weekend, border agents in McAllen, Texas were so overwhelmed processing migrants inside, they had to move them outside. But it gets worse. At least 1,000 of them were outside under a bridge in extreme heat. Texas Congressman Chip Roy has been following all of this very closely, and he joins us now to talk about it. Congressman, thanks for being with us tonight. Tell us what border agents are dealing with there, what they went through this weekend.
Yeah, it's pretty extraordinary. The numbers just keep getting worse. We all predicted this back in the spring, that you wouldn't get the normal slowdown in the summer because the policies of the Biden administration are just encouraging people around the world just to amp up. So we're getting people from all over the world. Border Patrol is overwhelmed. You saw the pictures that you just posted. I saw those were on my friend Henry Cuellar, a Democrat's account. I saw those same pictures from sources at the border because of how overwhelmed they are. There are 7,000 migrants that are being held in facilities that are designed for literally about 700 or 800. They are overwhelmed. You got these folks, they've got to use the restroom. You've got, moms with kids. It is truly a humanitarian crisis. And, where is the AOC? Where are the Democrats who are screaming kids in cages, who are screaming about kids drinking out of toilets, all of which were lies, blatant, flat out lies a few years ago. We proved them to be lies. And now you've got this crisis going on at the border, which is endangering Texans, endangering ranchers, endangering our country with opioids flowing in and cartels having operational control. And you've got thousands of immigrants who are in these horrible conditions and are risking their lives and being abused by cartels. That's the state of the border. And it gets even worse. You want to break a little news? I just got told by a mayor, a good source, that they've had conversations with Border Patrol, that orders are coming down from Border Patrol essentially to abandon their operations of really truly monitoring the border and dealing with the area between the ports of entry, because they can only focus on dealing with essentially babysitting and monitoring and managing the ports of entry and then the places where people are coming in at McAllen in the processing center. So we're getting to a place now in a desperate time where we're not really having any true policing of our border.
Okay, Congressman, just to drill down more on that point, because I think this is a big deal. You're saying that they're effectively becoming processing agents rather than being real border guards, rather than being real cops standing on the line at the U.S. border. Instead, they're pushing paper to process these illegal migrants who are being sent all over the United States. Is that accurate?
Yeah, there's no doubt that has been what has been happening now for weeks and months. It's been building to this. What I'm being told now, unconfirmed, but from a source that I trust, that they're being told by Border Patrol that they're no longer going to be able to even try to perform their functions between the port of entry and police the border. And so I think we're now getting to a true, emergency situation. We've been there, and now it's getting to a real bad spot.
And Chip, speaking of that emergency, you mentioned that unfortunately there has been no summer lull, which there typically is because most of the border is scorching hot at this time of year. Right before we went to air tonight, as a matter of fact, the Washington Post is reporting that preliminary numbers from CBP show 210,000 encounters at the southern border. That is the worst for July since the year 2000. This summer, it's already been miserable, but into August, into September, it's still scorching hot. As you mentioned, it's terrible for everybody. It's terrible for the illegal migrants. It's terrible for Texans, for New Mexicans, for Californians. It seems to me the only people who actually benefit are the cartels.
No, this is exactly right. I saw those numbers. I posted them on my social media this afternoon, got an early heads up that it was going to be about 205,000. I think we've gotten it confirmed, pushing 210,000. These are record numbers. The record numbers for any time, but particularly July. But the real problem is those are the apprehensions, or really the encounters. They're not apprehensions, actually. They're encounters. The problem is all of those ports of entry. We posted the known gotaways. You're putting it on the screen right now. 37,400 gotaways. That's known gotaways. And look, the gotaways are the ones where you've got your real bad actors, people coming in between the ports of entry, people who are high value entities that are coming in. They might have some people that are associated with terrorist organizations, bad gangs, criminals. They're moving narcotics. We know we've seized 8,500 pounds of fentanyl. And I've had these just completely idiotic leftists saying, oh, you're complaining about seizures and the people that we're apprehending. Oh, that proves that it's working. That's wrong. What we're seeing is these enormous numbers of what we're getting. That's not accounting for all the stuff coming in between the ports of entry. And we are seeing more fentanyl pour into the United States than we've ever seen before. Yeah. And guess what? We now have 92,000 opioid deaths over the last year in this country.
Congressman, real quickly, obviously it doesn't seem like the federal government is going to be taking action on this anytime soon. Unfortunately, your governor, however, has been taking some action, building additional fencing, arresting anybody who trespasses across that fencing. But is he doing enough? And if not, what more would you like to see Governor Abbott do?
Well, I think the governor is taking some good steps forward to try to push and do the things that the federal government ought to be doing. With all due respect, I hope he does even more. I think we're getting to the point right now where we ought to consider just shutting down the ports of entry to send a loud signal to the United States that we're not going to deal with this anymore. I think we need to go put our own manpower down at the border. We need to start finding ways to turn people away. When we get back in power, we ought to impeach Mayorkas. We ought to consider impeaching President Biden. They are not faithfully executing the laws of the United States. They're doing it purposely. They're endangering Americans. It's enough. The American people have had it. The people of Texas have had it. And they can all just go to hell. We need to do our part in Texas. They want to go sue us to say that we can't go try to figure out who's being carried. When Catholic Charities sends a busload of people to a hotel in La Jolla and they're COVID positive while they're trying to tell us to wear masks on the floor of the House and threatening to arrest my staff. I want Speaker Pelosi to come through me if she thinks she's going to do that. And I want the Attorney General of the United States to come down to Texas and look me in the face and say he's going to do something to stop Texas from securing our border. It's time. We need to do it ourselves.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.